Welcome back, Crackle Addicts! I just returned from calling Portland and have a lot to talk about. Today's video will focus on my calling prep, performance, and lessons learned, but it hasn't escaped me that we now know Syndra's hero text. Catch my video about all that coming later this week. If you haven't already done so, subscribing to my channel is the easiest way to keep in the loop. My Blue Sky, Discord, and Patreon info is in the video description below. Before I get to my tournament report, I want to quickly touch on my prep for the Calling Portland. I went hard on testing in the 2 weeks leading up to the event, focusing primarily on paper testing with my locals, but also putting in hours of custom games on Talishar in the week prior to Portland. Even before that, I had been paying Yuki Lee Bender and Ellie Bird for personal coaching. If you're in the market for specialized instruction at reasonable hourly rates, then I highly recommend both women. I can honestly say that I am a better Flesh and Blood player for having worked with them, and would not have performed so well in Portland without them. The goal of my testing was to familiarize myself with Aurora as a hero, as well as with the matchups I expected to see at the Calling. I felt comfortable with the hero leading up to my coaching and practice, but believed that I wasn't reaching her full potential and wanted help to achieve that. I was dooming a bit before the weekend based on nerves and a lot of 50-50 results in my custom games, but overall felt like I was prepared as best as I could be. Anyone following me on Blue Sky already knows my result, but I won't spoil it for you here. I'll have a post-event analysis waiting for you after the tournament report, and until then, enjoy. What up, fam? It's your boy, it's Lupine Fiasco. We're repping Team Metal Fab. Playing at the Calling here in Portland. Just finished round one, playing Aurora, as you might expect. Round one was against a Florian. We did get the win in this matchup. Historically, I always thought it was a hard matchup for Aurora, but I win it a lot, so maybe it is favored for Aurora. The trick to this one is you just try to play off of Arsenal as much as possible. Specifically, you're playing around Command and Conquer and Plow Under. And weirdly, I would expect, in the past I've said don't avoid arsenaling against a class like Assassin, because if you're giving too much power to CNC and leave no witnesses, then they might as well always have CNC and leave no witnesses, and you want to set up these 5-card hands as an aggro deck. But against Florian, I've been told and have found it's just better not to arsenal anything if you can avoid it. If you can convert 4 cards, just do it, because they are going to try and stall the game with CNCs and Plow Unders while they try to decompose and turn on their hero. And if you can turn those two into Brutal Assault, then you're getting very far ahead, and especially if you're able to offensively convert 4-card hands, you're dealing more damage than they can really address. So either they are going to block 12 to your 14 or 16, take damage, and not be decomposing, or they're going to take 6 to 8 damage so that they can decompose with Felling or Plow Under, and you are hopefully not getting punished by that. I had some good luck in this game. My opponent did not find meaningful CNCs or Plow Unders outside of the first CNC and the first Plow Under. The first CNC came on turn 1. I lost the die roll and was chosen to go first, which I think is what I want to do anyway, so that was fine. Put a Lightning Surge in Arsenal, got hit by CNC. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to not Arsenal on turn 0 to play around CNC, so that was a bit of bad luck. The first Plow Under hit a Flicker Wisp that I'd put into Arsenal, which ultimately wasn't terrible because I just did not draw Arc Lightnings until the end of the game. One was kind of 3/4 of the way through my deck, and the other 2 were just at the bottom. Which was funny. My opponent at one point says, looks in my graveyard 4/5 of the way through the game and says, "Oh, you've been pitch stacking." And I say, "I just haven't drawn my Arc Lightnings yet." And immediately after I said that, put an Exude Confidence into Arsenal. My opponent has played all 3 Plow Unders and all 3 CNCs, so I can play with an Arsenal again. Exude Confidence in Arsenal, draw up Arc Lightning, Flicker Wisp, Blue. I'm like, all right, I'm at 15 and my opponent's at 8 with AB1. I feel like this is going to go well. They throw a Decomposed Felling of the Crown. I bottom the blue, and just send 17 damage before I can break my chest and my gold. So we were in it, and we picked up the win. So it is a 7-round calling. X1 or top 64 makes it to day 2. So we just gotta win 5 of the next 6, and I will keep you all updated. We're 1-1, lost to an Enigma, a pummel Enigma. So there are, I think, 4 or 5 different ways to build Enigma at this point. 4 of them are unfavored into Aurora. 1 of them is favored. And in talking to my opponent, I find out that the sort of bad Guardian Enigma that was popular during the Zen meta with Phantasmaclasms, Miraging Metamorph, CNC, Weakest Link, Pummel, it is weaker to Viserai than normal Enigma. But it is much stronger against Aurora, and so they hedged on there being more Auroras than there being Viserais, which is probably a good hedge. I haven't seen the numbers, but I've seen a lot of Auroras just in finding my seat and looking around my chair when I'm playing. And so it was, a good call and got me. I should have boarded differently. This is a matchup now where I actually do need to roll the dice first before I sideboard to determine who goes first, because my opponent won and put me going first, which to me is now a clue. This is pummel, and so I need to board differently. I need to board in Crown of Providence, maybe Spring Tunic. Honestly, it might be Dyadic Carapace as the call, because the game did not go long, and my opponent is converting 4 cards every turn because we're looking at, Miragai, Spears of Seriality, CNC, Pummel, Weakest Link, these things that, and D-Reacts that are just keeping him alive long enough to send the disruption, send these big hands. So I definitely need to board differently. I don't know if it wins me this game, but Crown of Providence being able to dodge a CNC is definitely nice. Having more armor block is good. I hung in for longer than I thought I would, just based on how the game was going. I had a good Electrostatic Discharge, Exude Confidence, Snapdragon with double Channel Lightning out that kind of put me into a position where maybe I could get there. But overall, it just really was not a super close game based on Aurora being bad into sort of bad Guardian Enigma. So we're 1-1. I need to win 4 of the next 5. See if I can get there, and I will let you all know. Gonna need some pogs in the chat because we're 2-1. Just beat a Viserai in what ended up being a very close game. I won the die roll and went first, which is a big benefit in that matchup. Even drew Warmongers turn 0. Got to set a Lightning Surge in Arsenal, so I'm feeling good. Viserai chooses Peace and plays Grasp, Malefic, Read the Runes. So probably, better to hit the Warmongers than not, but it's not the incredible blowout that I was hoping for. That's the nice thing about Bagelman's list, which I think most of the Viserais here are on. Very resilient to Warmongers. They can definitely still get got by it, but the just time walking them potential of Warmongers is definitely much lower. After that, it was a pretty back and forth game. I got not blown out by Succumb to Temptation. I should have blocked more around it and just considered that it was there. I suspected it. I could have put my Lightning Greaves in front of a 4-power attack and then played my Sigil of Suffering. I wanted to get a card away from my opponent. I also didn't necessarily think they would use it, so they gave up some value. They gave up a Reaping Blade attack by pitching a red into my Sigil, but they did take a Lightning Press out of a hand that was E-Strike, Flittering Charge. I have no arsenal, so my turn is E-Strike for 7, and that gave them the opening to face Purgatory me. And I didn't really have a good option to play around it. I was on Lightning Greaves, so I couldn't even have done E-Strike, 5, draw, snap, do something. It just was not going to work out. Really back and forth from there. They had a few good Mordred Tide turns. I had a pretty good Arc Lightning. My problem was I was not seeing Channel Lightning valleys. And by the time I did see them, we were late enough in the game that I couldn't play them. I had to pitch. I believe 1 went into an Aurora token, the embodiment. 1 went into Arcane Barrier to keep me alive. And after this big back and forth of just throwing 2-card hands at each other, Me getting to send 7 a couple of times from an E-Strike, and then from a Electrostatic Discharge and Twine Lightning, I got to keep 4 cards. My opponent went for, they had 2 different lines. One was pitch Ninth Blade, sent 4 damage, which I was at 2, I would have had to give 2 cards to stop it. Of course, my opponent doesn't know that, and we talked about it afterwards. We decided that was playing not to lose, playing to win, is what my opponent did, which is play Mordred Tide, read the runes, make 6 rune chance, and I got to keep a 4-card hand, which had Arc Lightning, which coincided with my opponent drawing 4 reds. They were at 2, they just couldn't survive the turn, and that was the game. So super close. I feel good against Viserai on Aurora. Certainly when I win the die roll, I feel better, but you still got to find your power cards because they are going to defend really, really well. And turns out when they're playing a deck full of 4 blocks and all of our damage is 4 power, that's really going to slow us down if we can't put something together that is greater than the sum of its parts. So barely got there. Going into round 4, got to win 3 of the next 4, and I will let you know how that goes. We're 3-1, y'all. Just beat NorCal local Reese Toomray on Zen. Historically a Bolton player, but playing what I think is probably the best deck. A very close game. It did not start close. I won the die roll. I went second. Reese just passed. I allowed it. My hand was very good for converting. On turn 2, I sent a bunch of damage. Turn 3, I sent a bunch of damage. Put Reese down to 18 to my 35. Reese then had a triple transcend turn that went Kakara for 2, Tiger for 2, Tiger for 2, Cosmic for 20. So that was pretty good. The old 5-card 26. I've never been Cosmic'd for 20 before. So that, check that off that to-do list. After that, I punted pretty hard by very aggressively crowning my arsenal to try and Arc Lightning, then hard committing to a double Arc Lightning turn, having just watched my opponent transcend, knowing that they still have Mask of Transcend the Universe and Kasaya up. So easy double block, find Chi, pitch into Kasaya, make Zen state, shut down the rest of my turn. After that, we scrapped back and forth. I was sending pretty consistent damage. My hands were not bricking at all. It was very nice. I got to snap for nice damage with an Arcanic Shockwave, gone in a flash combo, and Reese went down to 1, kept, I believe, 4 cards, missed on an Ancestral Harmony, and then took the aggressive line, playing to win, not playing to not lose, by finding a Mauling Chi and committing the last resource to try and kill me, and I had the Sigil of Suffering to return 1 point of Arcane for lethal. So we did, barely get there for a game where it felt like I was very far ahead, suddenly finding myself very close to being dead. Still had decent lines if I don't have the Sigil. A Sigil is any other 3-block, but even so, much, much closer than I would have liked it to be, and much closer than it was looking to be. So credit to Reese. Funnily enough, he is borrowing cards from me to play Zen. We both had the same joke when I sat down, which was, hey, I'm going to need those back. Sorry for the awkward timing, but I do want my Bittering Thorns back. I want my levels. And just, fun game. 3-1. Got to win 2 of the next 3, and I'll let you know how that goes. All right, giving you round 4 and round 5 at the same time, because round 4 basically went to time, and I did not have time to record in between. Round 4 was Enigma. We win. So I don't know how to pitch stack, because I play aggro decks, and historically I play aggro decks that shuffle. So I've never had to learn how to stack. I've learned how to keep threat density in long games, but stacking, no. My opponent is CYB at Enigma, but does not draw a CYB until halfway through the game, by which point I've played 2 Arc Lightnings, because I'm thinking I played an Enigma in a side event whose plan into Aurora was just block, try to fatigue. So I'm thinking maybe this guy's going to fatigue me and is just blocking. I can just play efficient hands. He shows me the first CYB. Suddenly my last Arc Lightning is precious. I pitch it. I'm intending to stack it. I still have 3 Flicker Wisps in my deck. I have 2 Poison the Wells because I do board for CYB Enigma. The first poison gets eaten by an Oasis Respite. The second poison does connect, and my opponent loses 8 life. It was the last CYB. And at that point, we're just in kind of stall. I have like 46 health, so I am not under any kind of pressure at all. My deck size is dwindling, but I know there's an Arc Lightning, 3 Flicker Wisps in here. I Arsenal an Arcanic Shockwave, knowing that I'm going to double Flicker Wisp, Arc Lightning, be able to fuse with an Lightning card. And so we get to the turn that I have stacked, which is Channel Lightning Valley on board, Arcanic Shockwave and Arsenal, Exude Confidence, a blue Arc Lightning Flicker Wisp with a Flicker Wisp on top of my deck. Play Arc Lightning, it gets a bead, play Flicker Wisp, fuse it, deal 1, draw Flicker Wisp, play Flicker Wisp, fuse it, Arcanic Shockwave, fuse for 3/4 go again, with 3 at the tail end, pitch blue for Starfall for 2 go again, 3 at the tail end. At that point, the game is over. I have 2 more resources. I could pitch into Grasp, deal 3, 1 from the Rune Chant, Exude Confidence for 4, break Snaps for 3. 11 more damage on the table. So we just barely get there. And the whole time I'm thinking I'm going to lose this game. I'm going to get fatigued because I don't know how to do this. We solved it, but definitely something to work on. Round 5, or I guess round 6. Yeah, that sounds right. Round 6 was against Majin Bay, Team Metal Fab Token member. So we already knew there was going to be a team kill, and one of us was really going to have to struggle after the round. Thankfully, it was me. I feel like my deck just had my back. Like, I went through half the deck and drew the good half of it. Majin banished an Arc Lightning. I saw the 2 others. I saw all 3 Flicker Wisps. At one point, I did Arc Flicker combo just by luck of the draw. Had an Arc Lightning in Arsenal, had the Flicker Wisp. Majin didn't take it with a Surgical, which I think was fine. It just was a bad call considering my Arsenal. I had a hand that was completely non-functional. The hand was Electrostatic Discharge, Sigil of Solace, Flicker Wisp, and Lightning Press. And Majin attacks with a Command and Conquer. I have no Arsenal, but I use my Crown of Providence anyway to sink Electrostatic Discharge and draw into Sigil of Suffering. So just, again, unplayably bad. At which point my turn becomes Flicker for 2, Pitch Press into Starfall for 1, gain 3, pass, Arsenal Sigil of Suffering. On the plus side, Majin IP'd himself because he was expecting more, so he didn't pitch to AB to the Flicker Wisp, and he didn't block the Starfall. He managed to crack back, we have a bit of a back and forth, and finally we get to my turn, which is Lightning Surge in Arsenal. I have a Frailty, Channel Lightning Valley on the board, 2 snatches in hand with Snapdragon. So Lightning Surge for 3 go again, Majin blocks, Snatch, no blocks, Snap, no reactions. All right, I'll draw 2, draw into blue and E-Strike, Starfall for 1, E-Strike for 7. Majin just had a CNC which blocks for 3, a Chi, and a Sigil of Solace. So he cannot get there. It was a pretty crazy game, and I feel like I was behind for most of it, but my deck just pulled through for me, and as far as our 2 non-functional hands went, mine was timed much better than his was. The double snatch was backbreaking for trying to actually put a turn together. So at this point, having finished round 6, I'm locked for day 2 with a 5-1 record. I would love to win my next one and just put myself into a position where I don't have to win out to top 8, but you know, being 5-1, I'm going to have to scrap for it anyway, but at the very least, I'm day 2. I played 4 callings. 3 of them were day 2s, so I feel like we have the consistency down, and I will let you know how round 7 goes. We didn't get there, Crackle Addicts. Lost to Zen. Really not much to say. If I was looking for a game to review for YouTube, this would not be one of them. It was not an interesting game. I lost the die roll, went first. My opening hand was Burn Up, Somersault, Sigil of Suffering, so I can't even threaten to push a ton of damage. Make Zen show me that he blocks. I arsenal a Sigil of Suffering, draw into another Sigil of Suffering, so not super spread out. I play the first one, arsenal the second one, sit on it for 3 turns, never find Channel Lightning Valley, which is really one of the ways that Aurora can catch up in the Zen matchup. The turn after I play my Sigil, because I need to live, I play Ravenous Rabble that flips Channel Lightning Valley. Like, okay. In a 5-turn game, Zen transcended 3 times. It is what it is. It's a bad matchup for Aurora, no matter what. It's especially bad if she loses the die roll, and it is super duper bad if Aurora draws very average and Zen draws above average. So we end day 1, 5-2. We are locked for top 8. I don't know my placement yet. I imagine I'll be low. Probably have to win out tomorrow if I wanted to top 8. I'll be interested to know how many rounds it is tomorrow. Events that I've been to in the past have been 5 rounds on day 2, but we only played 7 rounds today. Usually it's 8, so I don't know if it'll be 4 or 5 rounds tomorrow, but probably looking to win out. Maybe if I lose my last round, I can get in at X3, but probably not. I think we are just looking to win 4 or 5 games in a row. So I'll pick up tomorrow, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but no time will pass at all for you. So you'll know in just a few seconds how I do. What up, gamers? It's day 2 for me, so brand new day, brand new loss. We're 5-3, unfortunately. Just lost to a Viserai. This was the same player that I beat a few months ago at a ProQuest. He was on Florian then, Viserai now, and I don't feel like I punted or even necessarily played poorly. A little sleepy. This is not the first calling that I've had a hard time sort of waking up on day 2. The last one I punted on KO against a Kano and felt really bad about it, but this one I think I just lost a game based on my deck not really working with me. I won the die roll, went first, had 2 really good turns to start with, and then just kind of stopped from there. Big turning point for me was I played a Warmongers and arsenaled the Burn-Up Shock, knowing that I wouldn't be able to play Burn-Up on my next turn. My opponent chose Peace and had a really good hand for Peace. And this was the ideal spot in which to play Warmongers. My opponent has no Malefic, no Rune Chance. There's a really good chance that he draws a hand that just can't do anything under War or Peace, and unfortunately drew into Become the Arknight, was able to find a Read the Runes, had a Deadwood Dirge in hand, and then another Read the Runes. So being able to have a non-attack with Go Again, turn an attack into a non-attack with Go Again, and then play a third non-attack and make 7 Rune Chance doing it was just really strong. And from there, I just had a lot of trouble converting hands. My follow-up draw to the Warmongers was Flittering, Gone in a Flash, Snatch. And I could kind of, sort of fake having a turn with Shock to give the first Flittering charge Go Again. But from there, I P'd myself, Flittering, Go Again, Tunic for Sword, play Snatch, hoping that the Snatch would hit and let me draw, and then pitch 2 reds into Aurora. But my opponent blocks it, and I just take an intellect penalty. From there, really good Mordred Tide turn from my opponent. Through 9th Blade for 8 Arcane plus 12 Physical, and it was kind of downhill from there. I could never catch up. I took a Hail Mary with a Gone in a Flash turn, breaking my Greaves, knowing that I was dead on the next turn if I don't draw into like double Sigil of Solace, a Sigil of Suffering, 2 burn-ups to kill my opponent from 3, and they pitched a red to attack with Reaping Blade and have nothing left to pay for Arcane Barrier. It was a real stretch, and as you could imagine, it didn't quite get me there. So I don't feel like I misplayed. I feel like the Hail Mary on Greaves might have been a mistake, but overall I just had an uncooperative deck. Drew the attacks, not the instants. So dead 4, top 8, possibly alive for top 32. I've heard that there's prizing for top 64. I don't know what that would be. I can't imagine that I min cash for getting a win today, But we're going to keep going, see how I can end by the end of the day. So 5-3 now, and I'll let you know how the next one goes. We're back. We're 1-1 for the day. Just beat aggro Viserai. Somehow Aurora, being the most represented Runeblade here, has not affected my matchups because I have played against 3 Viserai so far, and a Florian and no Auroras. This game was, it's kind of traditional, right? I was raised playing against aggro Vis, so we're returning to the old staples of meet and greet, revel in rune blood, with new favorites, Swarm and Gloomveil, Malefic Incantation. It was kind of just luck that I knew to board for aggro Viserai. Two things happened. The first one, my opponent puts their deck face up on the table while we're setting up, and I see a red meet and greet, which to me is a pretty clear indication that this is very aggressive Viserai. But if that wasn't confirmation enough, we roll the dice, they win, and choose to go second. So these two things together tell me, all right, we're not going to do Tunic Greaves, which is what I would usually do into Viserai, expecting them to be mid-range. We're going to do Dyadic Snaps, and that ended up coming in pretty clutch. I was able to snap off a Gone in a Flash with Electrostatic Discharge that played around Face Purgatory, sort of. I still had to discard, but it didn't completely ruin my setup. I got to put a Lightning Surge in Arsenal that came in pretty clutch later. The game went pretty well, a little back and forth. I recall having a decent enough Arc Lightning, nothing incredible, but still fine. They had a decent Mordred Tide turn, threw out a few snuff outs. It's where I'm really happy that I had the Dyadic, so that I could actually block the snuff outs. But outside of that, aggro mirror. I lost the die roll, but was able to kind of stay in it long enough to put some good turns together, throw some real heaters, and get there. So we're 1-1 for the day, and I don't know, still alive for cash, I guess. We're gonna try to win 3 of the next 3. I have gotten to cash X4 before. I don't know how there being one less round affects that, but we're gonna do our best. So I'll talk to you all in just a little bit. 1 and 2 for the day. Just lost to Aurora. The curse of the non-functional hands continues. I win the die roll, choose to go second, which is great. My opponent gets a turn 0 Channel Lightning Valley, is able to draw off of it. I can't stop it. I was lucky in that they drew a blue Heaven's Claws, so they pitch into Aurora, make an embodiment, but don't have an arsenal, and from there I just proceed to draw nothing good. Just like my Zen game from yesterday, I've got a Sigil of Suffering in the arsenal for 4 turns, never see a Channel Lightning Valley. Not in a position really where I'm hurting myself by not having an arsenal. My hands are Burn Up, Lightning Press, Sigil of Solace, Current Funnel. Next hand was Burn Up, Entwine Lightning, Flittering Charge, and my opponent still has 6 points of armor. These hands just don't function, and my opponent is drawing heaters. My opponent drew 1 Channel Lightning Valley to my Channel Lightning, but his came on turn 0, my came on turn 5. Opponent draws 2 Arc Lightnings with 5-card hands. I don't see an Arc Lightning. Maybe I am just constructing my deck poorly at this point. Sigil of Sufferings and Burn-Ups do not play well together, and I shouldn't have them both in the deck at the same time. That said, every Aurora is doing this because when you get to Sigil Channel Lightning, it's insane. My opponent was AB2. We were both on Dyadic with no Greaves, so in theory, this would work. This would do the thing. I've had it do the thing before, but between my Aurora game today and my Zen game yesterday, these hands are just clunked up. They're not working, and when your opponent's drawing hot, you're never going to win that game. I don't think the Sigil of Suffering really mattered. What else is going to be Exude Confidence? And if it is Exude Confidence, having 4 more damage was not going to win me the game. My opponent was at 6 with 2 points of armor left. I am willing to chalk this one up to draw variance, as much as I hate chalking losses up to variance because they let me dodge responsibility for growing or reflecting as a player. But man, this one did feel like it's the aggro mirror. My opponent drew hot. I didn't. There's no way for me to claw my way out of that. So we're 1-2, 2 more rounds left in the day. I'm 6-4 overall. I have no idea if I'm still in contention for any kind of prizing. I'm going to play it out, see if I can salvage some elo, but really not confident in my deck today. The deck is really letting me down between round 1, just not seeing any instants, and now round 3, just not seeing functional hands compared to my opponent drawing heaters. So, let you know how it goes. 1-3 for the day, just lost to a Prism. It was a close game. I put him down to 2. I mean, he still had some armor. It definitely had some bad beats in this game. First was losing the die roll. It was Empyrean Rapture Prism, which I expected it to be. I had to go first. It's an aggro mirror, so we are just racing, and going first is bad. My opening hand was great. Lightning Blue, Channel Lightning Valley, Entwine Lightning, and some other attack. Might have been Ravenous Rabble, Second Strike, maybe something that would do damage. So, swing with Sword, play Channel Lightning. My opponent blocks with Phantasmal Footsteps, blocks with Light of Soul, flips a yellow, gets Erudition and a Ponder. Like, incredibly bad for me. Is also able to pitch into the hero at the end of turn to get rid of a Figment that was in his hand. I still think it's right to attack Prism turn 0, make them show me that they can block. And if the Light of Soul is like a Figment, then I'm incredibly ahead. I've done 10 damage. Prism has blocked 6, taken 4, gotten stuck with 2 bad non-blocks. I get an Arsenal, and my Channel Lightning's out. I have a 6-card hand on the next turn. If the Light of Soul misses, I'm in the same position, but the Light of Soul hitting and giving Prism really a head start, especially going second, is so bad. I had 2 Ravenous Rabbles that flipped a yellow, which I drew from Channel Lightning Valley, and then the second flipped a blue. Well, that 3 damage was relevant at the end of the game. But after that, I'm just unfamiliar in the Prism matchup, and Aurora is the most represented deck, so of course he's going to know how to play against me, and I'm not quite sure how to play against him. Angelic Wrath was prominently featured in my opponent's deck. He had 9 copies, but continued to have them. So he's converting hands, he's hitting with angels, hitting with heralds, drawing angels. I thought I had him at the end of the game with a Sigil of Suffering to block out a Angel of Wrath, but as it turns out, angels are not attacking heroes. So Sigil of Suffering does not trigger if it blocks an attacking angel, which he was kind enough to let me reblock so that I don't just die, but I did die the next turn. Not being able to pop the angel with arcane damage was a huge problem. So overall, felt like some bad beats, but I could have played better. It does not feel like my last loss, where I could play that game 100 times and lose every one of them. This one felt like a better player would have won, and I just didn't know how to navigate the matchup. So I've got one more game for the day, hoping to end 8-6, 8-7-5. Yes, hoping to end 7-5. If I lose, I'll go 6-6. Hopefully ELO positive. Very disappointed with the result already. Today has felt very bad. This is not the deck I want to be playing. Just inconsistencies in draws, and I won't play it out, but this went from being a pretty good calling to my worst one yet, so we'll see. Not good, Crackle Addicts. Not good. 1-4 for the day, 6-6 for the weekend. Brutal, backbreaking. Sucks to go 5-2 into 1-4. Lost to Chris Ili on Florian. Lost the die roll, went first, which I think I would have done anyway. Chris's Florian was a little more aggressive than what I'm used to. Had Cadaverous Tillings, Bramble Sparks. Runic Reclamation was really good. It did threaten a Channel Lightning Valley. But overall, draws just didn't really line up for me. I had said with my Florian game yesterday, I stayed off Arsenal for as much as possible, and that was really helpful as far as dodging the disruption. But sort of the flip side of that is if you're staying off Arsenal and your opponent is not doing anything with their disruption, if they're not blocking with their plow unders or sending CNCs that are just brutal assault, then you are giving up the potential for 5-card hands. You're really nerfing your damage, especially if you consider Aurora synergies like Embodiment of Lightning, Arsenal gone in a flash, play Electrostatic Discharge, or play Lightning Surge from Arsenal, and you have Channel Lightning Valley. So if I'm intentionally keeping off of Arsenal, and Chris is not drawing his disruption, It means that I am falling behind at a certain point. To try and catch up, I need to start arsenaling, and that means that he is now drawing his disruption, which is relevant. Add on to that I saw 3 Flicker Wisps before I saw a single Arc Lightning. I'm not arsenaling, so I'm not even setting up the potential to draw an Arc Lightning with my Flicker Wisp. Overall, it was just a bad game. Things didn't go the way that I needed them to. I don't know that a better player could not have won that game, but Chris was definitely teched for Aurora, and things did not happen the way I needed them to, so we lose that one. By the time you're seeing this, I will have had several days to reflect on how the calling went. I will have recorded those reflections, which you'll see either before or after this, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's something interesting to learn about why I did so much better day 1 than day 2, if it has to do with the quality of player, if it has to do with nerves or prep or what. I certainly think at least one of my games today was unwinnable. I could play it 100 times and lose every one. Maybe a second one was unwinnable. Chris's Florian was possibly unwinnable, though I would like to see a better player try round 1 Vis, round 5 Florian. And my Prism game was, I think, winnable by a better player, or at least someone with more Prism experience. I'll reflect on it. I'll let you know. Happy to day 2. Happy to convert to day 2 75% of the time. I've played 4 callings. I made day 2 and 3 of them. Really unhappy with 6-6. That's a very bad record. Hopefully we stay ELO positive, just based on who my losses were to. But overall, not a great calling for me. So before anything else, I want to say that I had a blast in Portland. I got to meet viewers, put names and voices to the faces I see online, spend time with friends, local and otherwise, introduce my long-term partner to my fab friends, and even overpay for a playset of cold foil Channel Lightning Valleys. I'm so glad that I went to Portland, wouldn't trade that experience for the world, and I'm so excited to get to my next big event in London. That all being said, let's not beat around the bush. A 6-6 calling record is pretty ass. I am proud that I made day 2. This is my 3rd day 2 out of 4 callings, and a 75% conversion rate is nothing to be sad about. What's obviously more concerning is going 1-4 on day 2. There are a few potential reasons: nerves, mental exhaustion, or simply being worse than the tougher day 2 player base. I don't feel like the quality of my opponent was drastically different between the 2 days, especially considering that I won against very good players like Reese Toomray and Majin Bay on day 1. I also don't feel like I played poorly. I don't recall any obvious punts or misplays. I made sure to take my time and do my math before committing to blocks or attacks, and I went into every game with at least some understanding of what would happen and my role in it. I hate to blame variance for a loss. My entire channel is based on the idea that most losses are preventable with better, tighter play. That said, sometimes you do just get unlucky and lose. Even after a full 24 hours to reflect, I still honestly believe that no player alive could have won my round 10 Aurora mirror with the cards I was drawing. I also believe that I couldn't have found a way to navigate my round 8 Viserai match any better than I did at the time. What that leads me to conclude is that my testing and prep were good, but incomplete. I really failed to analyze my gameplay, both on my own and with others. You all know that my daily gameplay reviews dropped off in the weeks prior to Portland as I shifted focus onto grinding reps, and that lack of analysis may have stunted my growth. But what I think was more impactful is that when I did analyze my games, I did it all on my own. Mercy mentioned in our interview that I had briefly practiced with Team Ascent to help her prepare for a potential World's Top 4 match against Michael Hamilton's New. What really struck me about that session was that 2 or 3 Ascent members were spectating my game and coaching me towards the best line. We were all collaborating and finding the best play together. That isn't something I get in my normal testing, which all happened one-on-one. If I took a suboptimal line and missed a few points of value, there wasn't anyone around to catch it. Whether I lost, and especially if I won, I internalized that play pattern as correct and moved forward with a flawed understanding of how to play my game. The point is that analyzing my own play is more helpful than not, but even more helpful is having others analyze my play. The hard part is finding strong Aurora players who have the time to sit with me to discuss a replay, but that's where I think I failed to take best advantage of my coaching with Yuki and Ellie. I brought them scenarios from my weeks of play to talk through or problems I felt I was having, but I never presented them with replays to review. I should have been bringing them the games that I felt were unwinnable to ask them for their opinions. Maybe they would have seen something that I missed or possibly never even knew. I bring this up because it relates to my round 8 Viserai loss and how I feel like I couldn't have navigated my turns better than I did. Maybe Ellie could have. Maybe she would have taught me to navigate the turns where my hand lacks go again and I feel like I can't properly apply pressure. Maybe my round 7 loss to Zen or my round 12 loss to Florian were winnable if I had the training to work myself out of a bad spot or recognize the small advantage I needed to exploit. Just because I couldn't see the out doesn't mean it wasn't there. My takeaway is that I need to reach out to my testing partners in and out of Team Metal Fab tokens to ask for backseat advice or VOD reviews as I begin preparing for Road to Nationals and Pro Tour London. I'll also be taking charge of my coaching sessions. What I got was extremely helpful, but I feel like I didn't take full advantage of what I was paying for. What better way to commit someone to watch replays with me than to pay them to do so? Who knows? Maybe a win in round 7 or 8 would have changed the trajectory of my day 2 and put me in a top 8 spot. I'll have to compare my London results to Portland to see what I learn next. For now, I'll be slowing down on my play in favor of posting the gameplay reviews you all know and love. I intend to branch out for Aurora for the off-season between now and the Hunted, so tune in later to see what I play next. Until the next time I see you on Daily Fab Gameplay, take care.